What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast networking channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew. And for everyone who's tuning in, I hope that you support Behind the Bench or continue supporting Behind the Bench, become a subscriber, and help make this show the best that it can be. Now, earlier today, I provided some content pertaining to the Los Angeles Lakers original young core from 2014 through 2018, right? And I'm going to start off by saying that I don't want to just focus on the Los Angeles Lakers because as a fan of basketball, I enjoy watching as many teams as possible so I can get a good read as to what's, taking place throughout the NBA landscape. But see, I feel this is very important because, and I get it. I honestly get it. When you hear so-called experts, discuss or have discussions about the NBA on a year-by-year basis, and they focus on certain teams. And see, where the line is being crossed at is in previous eras or decades of NBA coverage, the people who have the opportunity or the platform to provide commentary about the league, they did so by focusing on the play of the team or what was taking place regarding the competition on the court exclusively. But what is happening is they're trying to dictate the landscape and trying to force moves and force the hands of these organizations to capitulate to certain superstars and trying to sway certain players to request trades to certain teams. And this is where it creates a very chaotic situation. And no other organization is caught under this web of influence right now, more so than the Los Angeles Lakers. But what's funny is, for an organization that's supposed to be in an all-time win now mindset or direction, not only are they falling short outside of that one season, but they're making one miscalculation after the next. And me, as a fan of this team for a very long time, I always gravitate back to two areas of focus. I focus on what we were told when all this started, that we would be in title contention every year, right? That's what we were told when this was started, because remember, year one, they said that the Lakers were going to the Western Conference Finals. That's what they said in year one. And they did not even make the playoffs. And this is before the play-in tournament was introduced to the NBA. Okay. So then I'm comparing the output of the players that they let go, traded away, versus who they bring it to the team, assigned to the team, or trading for. And based on the outcome of every season, outside of that year of the bubble that culminated in the bubble tournament, the output has been proven better than the input. Even the players that they, let's say, the players that they brought to the team during the 2021 season, they were better than the players that they brought to the team during the 21-22 season. So, see, it's a negative domino effect. But you know what's funny? For fans who are led to believe or trying to convince themselves that the original young core was no good, they weren't saying that before all this started. I remember the reaction, especially after, and I know this was just summer league, but after that summer league tournament of 2017, right after they drafted 4 players that offseason. 4 players: Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, Thomas Bryant, right? So there was this infectious energy and this anticipation for the future that lied ahead. It was a lot of positive, positive vibe, that you knew something special was on the horizon, right? And I don't think anyone that supports this team can dispute that, because that's the fact. Those were the facts. But you know what's funny? I always, once this started, and once you realize what was going to happen, and that young talent was going to be deemed expendable, the one team that I always looked at that I would compare our young players to was the Denver Nuggets. Now look at Denver now. The Denver Nuggets. They drafted Nikola Jokic in the 2nd round. And I believe that was the 2015 draft, if I'm not mistaken. He was drafted in the 2nd round. Matter of fact, when he drafted to the Nuggets, the starting center was Jusuf Nurkic, who spent multiple years playing for the Portland Trailblazers before he was traded to the Phoenix Suns this past offseason. So when you look at the metric of the Denver Nuggets, then a couple years later, they would draft Jamal Murray from the University of Kentucky, right? And then later on, then they had other players that they drafted too, like Will Barton and Gary Harrison. And then a couple years later, they would draft Michael Porter Jr. from the University of Missouri, right? Now, this is a shocker. This is a shocker. And this is how you know that ultimately the Lakers sold themselves short. See, the key to Denver was patience. And during that whole time, they've had the same head coach throughout, Mike Malone, who used to coach the Sacramento Kings for I think that was Malone's first NBA head coaching job was at Sacramento. I could be wrong. But once they drafted Nikola Jokic, they brought on Mike Malone. He's been their head coach since. And I believe he's probably the 3rd longest tenured head coach in the NBA behind Greg Popovich and for the San Antonio Spurs, and then Eric Spoelstra in Miami. Now check this out. This is amazing. And this is for the defending champion Denver Nuggets, who right now is 22-10. They didn't sign one free agent this offseason. But they have a better start this year than last year. It's because they maintain the consistency of their roster. And another key is they drafted additional young talent to the team to help solidify their rotation moving forward. Jeremy Strother, and they also drafted Christian Braun last year, who helped them perform in them finals versus the Miami Heat in them 3rd quarters. Okay, so what I'm getting at is Denver right now, in terms of how to build a championship team, they are the model franchise. That's why they're the champions, because they stuck to the plan. And the thing about it is, like I said, Jokic was drafted in the 2nd round. And look what he's become. 2-time league MVP, the best offensive center in the NBA and could go down as the best passing big man the league has ever seen. That's where he's headed. Okay. So I'm trying to set the stage again for, see, if you try to, how can I say? If you try to construct your team or approach team building based off what these talking heads say, you're going to miss the mark every time. You're going to miss the mark every time. Now I'm finna show proof of this. And this is mind-boggling to me. And this lets me know, like I said, Denver was always the team that I looked at in the West. Not Golden State. And what's funny is, speaking of Golden State, the Lakers, if you look back on it, the way they was building that team to eventually overtake Golden State. Think about it. You hire Luke Walton, who was an original Laker. He helped us win back-to-back championships in 09 and 010. They said he knew the triangle offense front to back. Right? And a lot of times they said during film session that he would help the team get reacclimated. Whenever the team may have got off track, run the triangle, he would remind them the concepts of how to run the offense. Okay. So now he knew, remember, he was the assistant coach for Golden State during the year where they won 73 games. And Steve Kerr had to miss the beginning part of that season due to a back injury that he needed medical attention for. And then Golden State went on that like 25, 26 game winning streak early on in the season, right? Well, he knew Golden State offensive system to a T, and he implemented a variation of that offense for the young core to run. And every time they faced Golden State, them games went down to the very wire, and they forced overtime twice during that season before they brought this dude to the team. Okay, so I'm trying to set the stage. I like setting the stage. Okay. So Golden State was not the team that I looked at. It was always Denver. And initially I didn't really know why, but now I do. Now check this out. This gonna blow people's mind. Okay. Nikola Jokic in his rookie year averaged single digits. Jamal Murray in his rookie year averaged single digits. Michael Porter Jr., entering his fifth season, has yet to average 20 points a game. And this is not a knock. This is just the facts of how Denver has evolved as a team. And it proved that you do not need a super team to win a championship. Never did. That's a misnomer. And that conversation only exists because of the fact that we have witnessed the super team era over the past 14, 15 seasons. Right? Okay, now check this out. There's nobody right now that represents Denver's reserve unit or second unit who averages more points a game starting out than what Jordan Clarkson did or Kyle Kuzma. Remember, Kyle Kuzma in his rookie year averaged 16 and a half. Nobody on Denver's second unit, not even players who they brought in like a Reggie Jackson or a Bruce Brown last year. average as much as Kyle Kuzma did or Jordan Clarkson. Now, remember, Josh Hart rookie year, he averaged about 8 or 9 points a game. But his second year, his minutes got limited because that guy came in and started dictating the roster mood, bringing in, veterans to the team, guys who hadn't really played in the past year or so. And that took minutes away from Josh Hart, and he lost a year of development. Now, check this out. Aaron Gordon, man, I think he was a awesome acquisition for the Denver Nuggets, because once they got him, now you got a front court player who can play alongside Nikola Jokic, right? And he's physical and he's athletic and he can hit the occasional three. And Aaron Gordon completed Denver's starting five that eventually propelled them to go to vie and eventually win the franchise's first championship. I like Aaron Gordon, man. I do. But check this out. He played a power forward, right? Aaron Gordon has never averaged 20 points a game in his career. And like I said, man, he's a key piece to what Denver does. No doubt about it. But check this out. Julius Randle. See, I'm trying to illustrate what we had, but we just didn't know. Remember, the year before all this started, Julius Randle, I remember his rookie year, his debut game, he broke his leg, right? So he missed his whole rookie season. So really, what was his fourth year, technically, but realistically, was his third season during the 2017-2018 campaign. He was considered a tweener because he hadn't really found his game. But most players, one and done players, they really don't really find their game, quote unquote, really until that third year, between that third and that fourth year. Do you realize that a lot of your superstars in the league right now, the Giannis Antetokounmpos, the Paul Georges, the Kawhi Leonards, players like that, they did not start averaging 20 points a game until their fourth or fifth year in the league. Well, Julius Randle started averaging 20 and 10 midway through his third full season in the league, once he was inserted into the starting lineup. And he played all 82 games for this franchise, the last key player to play all 82 games for the Lakers. He averaged more points and more rebounds than Aaron Gordon. Let me repeat that. He averaged more points and more rebounds per game than Aaron Gordon. Like I said, I like Aaron Gordon. This ain't about tearing down. This is about showing what we had. Okay, Jokic is Jokic. I believe he's the most complete center in basketball because of his passing. Even though Joel Embiid is having a monster year this year. Right? Okay. Jamal Murray didn't start averaging 20 points a game until about his fourth or fifth season in the league. Check this out. When you compare their rookie seasons, when you compare their second season in the league, Brandon Ingram doubled his scoring output from his rookie year to his second year. Went from 8 points a game to about a little over 16 a game. Now, in his third year, well, that was the first year they brought this dude to the team. And he lost a year of true development where probably if he was allowed to really grow as a player during his third year, his scoring more than likely is going to increase from 16 to about 22. So right there, naturally, through the draft, you got two players at that point that can give you 22 a game. Right there. Just as much as what Murray and Jokic was producing at that same point of their career. I'm telling you, man, this is crazy. Okay, so you had two 6-man level players in Kuzma and Clarkson. Well, I'll say Clarkson first because he was drafted by the Lakers before they got Kuzma. Then you had additional talent coming off the second unit with the likes of Josh Hart, who was a rebounding menace and was what you considered a 3-and-D wing, right? Okay, then you had a Larry Nance. Versatility, like he said, he liked to call himself the jack of all trades. Give you that high energy. He was kind of like what Kurt Rambis was for the Lakers during Showtime years. Get them tough rebounds, keep the ball in play, give you a crazy dunk to get the crowd riled up, block a shot. He's the high energy guy. Yeah, like his contribution don't necessarily showing numbers, but you always have to have a guy like that on your team. Okay, as of right now, during that time when Denver was building themselves up, can you unequivocally say that they had a player coming off that bench that was similar to Larry Nance Jr.? You see where I'm getting at? Okay. So you essentially had two 6-man of the year level players in Clarkson and Kuzma. Clarkson is one 6-man of the year. As soon as Clarkson was traded to a good team in Utah, boom, his game took off. He started averaging 20 a game and became 6-man of the year. That means that he's the best 6-man in the world. When you win that award, that's what that means. The same award that Lou Williams won multiple times, Jordan Crawford won. Who else? Great 6-men of the past. Jason Terry. Vinnie Johnson, Michael Wade Johnson back in the day, Bobby Jones. Okay, Jordan Clarkson went down in history with those guys. Okay, Kevin McHale's when he played 6-man for the Boston Celtics. So I'm trying to give a backdrop, man, of, see, we were so far ahead of the curve, but at the same time, our young core was ahead of its time. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, all these teams in the league, even like teams like the Orlando Magic, now they're very competitive. They've taken a jump from last year. The Houston Rockets have improved from last couple of years. OKC, I think they may be tied for the number 2 seed, right? They done took off. Okay, like I said, Minnesota in first place. So it's something that they figured out that I believe they've adopted the original blueprint that the Lakers were trying to establish before all this started. And like I said, the team that was always the measuring stick throughout them years, and how I grade it all now, I compare it to the Denver Nuggets because I believe they're the model team. They don't rely too much on a 3-point shot. They got great inside play to keep the defense honest, but they got a well-balanced attack. Now check this out. Didn't the Lakers have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on his team before all this started? Well, what team did he play for last year once he was traded to that franchise and helped them win their first championship in his team's history? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was on that team. Well, check this out. He was averaging more points on the Lakers before all this started than he did with the Denver Nuggets. And this is all before we had an opportunity to benefit from selecting players available in the greatest free agent pool ever during the 2019 offseason. See, if you follow the blueprint to a T, greatness going to fall in your lap. You could have had your pick of the litter and maintain your young core, exercise your salary cap better to where you don't overpay certain players and you don't underpay either. So you getting exactly what you pay for according to the talent that you bring into the team. So nothing is exaggerated and you have a better balance and you're truly deeper. You see, you don't have to act on a player's whim or what these so-called experts say. And the Lakers would have been ahead of everybody in the NBA. That's what I'm trying to say. But the most important piece was the foundational source, which was this young core. And when I talk about them, I'm not saying the end all be all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you have a run with a player like Kobe Bryant that goes 20 years, well, eventually you're going to have to start over anyway. Look at the San Antonio Spurs. They had a 20-plus year run, from the Tim Duncan era. It started with Tim Duncan and David Robinson, then Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, then Tim Duncan and Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green. And then after Kawhi left, they brought it, they had LaMarcus Aldridge, and then they brought in DeMar DeRozan. But they was always like a level less than what they were the previous year. So you knew that eventually they're going to have to start over. And that's where they at right now. And they drafted number 1 pick, Victor Wembanyama. But they starting from the bottom. They starting all over again. See, this is where you see how much, are you willing to see what I'm trying to say? And I know it's just sports, but when you're a fan of a team, you have to go through the ups and the downs, the peaks and the valleys. You're not going to always win. So sometimes you have to start from the bottom to truly understand what it takes to get back at the top during that particular time where the state of the NBA is. So maybe what worked 10 years ago will not work today. Not saying that one era is better than the next, but you have to look at it exactly for what it is. And that's why I say when the Lakers drafted that talent from 2014 and 2018, they darn near drafted 10 deep at every position. That's unheard of. They didn't even do that during the Showtime years. They didn't even do that during the Showtime years or during the Kobe Shaq years or other teams like, like the Chicago Bulls. They didn't draft that deep like that during the 90s or even the Spurs. See, and the player that they drafted are not all featured in this photo. That's what's scary. So what I'm saying is, in closing, the team that I measured against was Denver. And our young core players were outperforming Denver's players at the same stage of their careers. But the difference is Denver kept their coach, played the same system, built up their young talent, and I'm not saying they exceeded expectations, but they kept their eyes on the prize. That's what I'm trying to say. They didn't take no shortcuts. They didn't try to circumvent the process or manipulate the system, and they won. And now they have now added on to that, and they've improved from their championship season last year. Now, can they repeat? Time will tell. But they have the means and the know-how and the experience to do it. So what I'm saying is this young core was ahead of this time, but it was a victim of the time that we're in this super team era. And as a result, that's why everybody is gone but D'Angelo Russell, but more than likely, he'll be traded away too. That's where we at right now. And it never had to be. The one missing ingredient was this element called patience. But until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.